what a wonderful.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rekindi. I know there's actually been quite a lot of research on sound healing and the benefits that it has on like a cellular level. Can you maybe touch on that a little bit for our listeners? What benefits does sound actually have on your body?
The primary benefit that I can see in anyone who gets in touch with this modality is deep relaxation. It seems to have an incredibly fast relaxing effect. So people go into deep relaxation very quickly, and deep relaxation is a very important thing to experience. So any practice that helps achieving deep relaxation is very, very important, because we tend to live in an environment that triggers stress, and we often have a lifestyle that triggers stress. And the problem with stress is that when your nervous system is activated all the time, and the sympathetic part of the nervous system is activated all the time, which is the one that is responsible for the fight or flight response. So being very, very active and facing adversities. And because our lifestyle tend to push us more in that direction, and it becomes difficult to switch. The nervous system needs this constant switch between activation of the sympathetic and activation of the parasympathetic. And it's like something that needs to happen, it's like a movement that needs to happen constantly during the day. If we spend a lot of time in the sympathetic response, what happens is that, yes, we have energy for physical tasks, we have energy for mental tasks, we are active, but we can't be in a nourishing mode at the same time. So our body is not fulfilling the functions of nourishing, repairing itself, replacing cells and everything that comes from a deeply relaxed state. So that's the main problem of a stressful life. And so any kind of practice that helps balance that and remind our nervous system that it needs that very, very, very deep relaxation, because that's when the nourishing and repairing mode is activated in the body, is very helpful. Sound healing, I would say that one of the most important effects that sound healing has is that elicits really deep relaxation, and in that way reminds your body and your nervous system that it really desperately needs that. There are different ways of working with sound, and so I think that every sound healer kind of specializes more on certain things. So my way of working with sound, beside deep relaxation, is to help people with physical issues due to muscle contractions, pain, recovering from physical trauma. And I found that the use of those instruments, especially tuning forks and metal singing bowl, which you can use directly on the body, is really helpful for that. It relaxes the tissues, it increases blood flow, increases fluid flow in general in the body, and it helps decompressing the fascia. And so people often experience benefits and relief from physical pain when there's a lot of tension in the body. And another aspect is that people, when they go into a deep relaxation during a sound healing session, with those sounds around them, they also have all sorts of processes. People see all sorts of things, colors, shapes, and for some people it can be also a spiritually fulfilling experience, because they kind of get a sense of all the layers that are normally not visible and we don't experience so consciously, like, for example, the electromagnetic energy field that we have around the body. we know it's there, but we don't experience it consciously. We don't see it. Most people don't see it, and you don't feel it if you move your hands around your body. You don't really touch it. So, and when you get into that state, it's almost like a slightly altered state, and people see movements in their energy field, perceive colors. So it can also be an interesting experience from that point of view, and it can enhance your sensitivity to subtle levels of your being.
You were like mentioning before that when you play the different sound bowls or tuning forks or so on, it can actually relieve pain on your joints. How is that possible? Because once again, it's not touching it. It would just be sound vibrations that would somehow go through the skin, or how does that work?
Well, that's exactly the point. Sound is touch. It is a way of touching. I always tell my students, sound is a form of touch at a distance, or not distance if you're working directly actually on the body, because you need to think of what sound is from a physical point of view. So it is actual waves of pressure. So the reason why you hear a sound is because there's something that's producing the sound, and the source of the sound is making the molecules of the air that is between the source of the sound and your ears and your body. There's air in between, and this air has molecules, and the sound source creates waves of pressure in these molecules. So those waves of pressure of setting molecules in motion travel from the source of the sound to the receiver. So it's actual pressure that reaches your body. So it is a way of touching. It is a form of touch. It's a very light form of touch. But just think of in the movies when you see there's an explosion and people fly away, that's a wave of pressure, and it's it can be very tangible. It can move your whole body. So that's a dramatic picture. But a sound does exactly that. It moves the air. It creates waves of pressure, and those waves of pressure reach your whole body. And then we do have a specialized organ in the ears to decode those frequencies, but actually you listen with your whole body because those waves of pressure reach your whole body. And we have pressure reception under the skin. So that's why you can work with sound on the whole body, because the skin also is receptive to the actual mechanical pressure of the sound waves.
So interesting. And so with
Yeah.
because I know that you've done some work with pregnant women through sound. What impact does that actually have on the mother or on the baby in that situation?
Well, that's one of the fascinating things about our connection to sound as human beings. So we start hearing sounds when we are still in the womb. So it is an interesting way of learning about the environment before entering it. So we start learning about the environment and the effects that environment has on our mother, who's kind of hosting us until the moment we come into life. And it's a really interesting evolutionary thing, because you can actually start receiving information about the environment you will be entering before you enter it. And so we start hearing already in the womb towards the end of the pregnancy. And that's why we can recognize the voice of our mothers. That's why we are specially tuned into the sound of the voice of your mother, because when you come out of the womb, you're completely helpless. So you're gonna have to have some kind of reference frame of what's safe and what isn't. And of course, your mother's voice is the safest thing. So you are already wired to focus on that primarily. And now the interesting thing is that this is my personal idea. This is common knowledge, everything I said until now. And I have this my idea is that not only you learn to recognize your mother's voice, or you get a little bit of a sense of the environment around your mother by listening to those sounds, is also how your mother reacts to certain sounds. So, for example, if there's a sound that means danger to your mother, she will react to the sound by producing adrenaline, for example. And that's something that you are exposed to as a fetus in your mother's body. All the chemicals, you're exposed to all that, everything that happens chemically in your mother's body. So you could potentially develop an association between that sound and danger, because you heard that sound and your mother reacted physiologically with fear or alertness or whatever. And that potentially can create an association for you yourself, even before you're born, that sound means danger. And for example, if a mother listens to a certain kind of music to relax and she experiences relaxation, then the child can potentially create an association between that music and relaxation. So that music can be used potentially when the child is born to reactivate this association with relaxation. And that's the idea, for example, that I had when I created an album specifically for relaxation for pregnancy and birth. And yeah, I mean, we seem to have, and I mean, it makes sense because in the womb you can't see anything, right? So you only start using your eyes when you are actually born. So, but you can hear, and hearing in so many instances, in so many circumstances, is actually more useful than seeing, because unless thinking about at a primordial survival level, unless you are in a clearings and you can see for miles, in that case, you know, you will see things before you hear them. But in a lot of other circumstances, let's say you live in a forest, you're not going to, in a thick forest, you're not going to see very far, but you can hear very far. You can hear for hundreds of meters, and you maybe see for 2 or 3 meters. And that's something we still have within us. You know, you hear sounds from around the corner, or you hear sounds in another room of your house, and you don't see what it is, but you can hear it. Someone enters your house and they break the windows and enter your house. You know, man, what's going on? But you don't need to see them. You know, you can hear them. And in that way, if you think about how many circumstances, in how many circumstances sounds can alert you much earlier than your sight, you can really realize how powerful our connection to sound is. Also at a survival level, we rely on sound so much. But because we live in a culture that it's so visually oriented, we do so much visual communication, we kind of, in a way, have forgotten that a little bit. That sound is actually really, really, really relevant because we focus so much on sight. We even switched from learning from oral tradition, so by listening to the knowledge that has been passed on, to just reading it on a book. And, you know, it somehow that's made us lose a little bit the connection that we used to, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we used to learn by listening.
And
And
storytelling
now,
played.
and
That
storytelling,
storytelling
exactly,
and
myths,
singing.
legends, storytellings, and passing on the knowledge, often through chanting, actually. So yeah, sound has such an incredibly pivotal role in our human existence, and somehow we often don't think about it so much. We kind of forget that sound is such plays such a huge role in our everyday lives.
Oh, totally. And it's you becoming that self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's like you're not the person you were yesterday or 3 months ago or a year ago. You are the person you are right here, right now. And people can hold on to a lot of stuff from the past and think, okay, well, oh man, I failed at that, and so I'm a failure. And it's like, well, no, you're not a failure. Maybe you had done some things wrong in the past, but that doesn't necessarily make you a failure. By you saying I am a failure is the highest thing that's making you a failure. What are those self-affirmations? And that's why the whole you using your sound, your own voice to heal you, I find that so interesting, because it goes back to, centuries of using mantras and hymns, and in all different religions, people sing together, and singing together in unity creates such a beautiful feeling, a beautiful space. And that repetitive mantra that you're saying to yourself is just such a healing practice, healing the mind, but then also taking you to a completely different state, which is just the power of voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So do you is any pointers for people listening? What sort of sound, using your own vocal cords, do you suggest to people? Is there any examples that you can give us?
I would recommend exploring your voice freely, and you can start by just humming and see how it makes you feel. If you just, in a very relaxed way, in your own way, with whatever length of breath you have, just hum some sounds like something like this. See how long you can go. That gives you an idea of how you control your breath. And see if it triggers an interest to do more. See if it triggers an interest to open your mouth and to make a vowel, for example. So you can start with humming, and maybe you want to open your mouth and see what happens. My approach is often without a system, because I find systems to be good as starting points. Like if you don't really know where to start, and someone tells you, well, make these 3 notes and then you will experience this, do it and see, do you really experience that? And if you do, then that's great. And if you don't, what do you experience then? What does your body tell you when you make those sounds? Because there's often this idea that you make a certain sound and it has a certain effects on the body, on the energy, on that chakra, on this, on that. But the reality is that we're all different. So our bodies are all different sizes, different thickness, different weight, different this, different that. So a certain sound can't have the exact same effect on everyone. So my invitation is always start from somewhere and then see what happens. Instead of using a sound to tell your body what it should feel, make a sound and listen to your body and let your body tells you, I feel this when you do that. So you can modulate at the pitch. You can start with a very low sound and then you can move to a higher sound. Even when you're humming, you can hum a very low sound like this. And then you can modulate and see. And you will feel so many things already just by something so simple. You will feel the energy moving up and down the body, doing all sorts of things. And that will spark automatically a curiosity to see, okay, when I made that higher sound, I felt the energy moving up my head. What if I go even higher? Or what if I go down very quickly? Be playful, be creative. That's my main advice. The best advice is because so many people have inhibition around their voices. As long as it's about talking, it's all fine. But if it's about singing or about, first of all, people confuse toning and singing a lot. If you say, let's do some toning, yeah, but I'm not a good singer, or I can't really sing, or I'm tone deaf, we go back to those affirmations. because maybe someone told you once that, you know, you didn't catch the right note, and then you repeat yourself that you can't sing, which is okay. I mean, it is possible that the first time you sing out of tune, because you have to get used to it, you know, and then with practice you can get better. Some people are instantly good, and some people need practice, and it's fine. But, you know, just because you need practice doesn't mean that you're not good. So that's the first distinction. If you're using your voice in this way, in a more sound healing way, let's say toning and doing this kind of thing, remove the concept of singing, remove the concept of being in tune, any kind of musicality. And mostly, the thing I always tell my students, remove the idea that there's a good sound and a bad sound, a beautiful sound and an ugly sound. In sound healing, there's only sound and what it does, and that's it. There's only the sound and the effect it has. Make that sound, how does it make you feel? Make that other sound, how does it feel? What happens? That's it. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not beautiful, it's not ugly. So that's the very first important thing to keep in mind. And then if you manage to get into that framework of saying, well, this is all neutral, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just a thing I want to observe. If I do that, what happens? Then, you know, you can try and give yourself the freedom to experiment with your voice in ways that, you know, there shouldn't be any judgment. And if it makes you feel shy, just do it in a place where you think no one can hear you. But, you know, don't be shy with yourself. I understand if you're shy with other people around you, but, you know, don't be shy with yourself. Find a place where no one can hear you and allow yourself to find weird sounds, different sounds, funny sounds.